Tracy. I'm Sarah.
Alright, you ready? The world is home to thousands of small-scale brewers, also known as homebrewers, who create their own beer for personal consumption, and the hobby is growing more each year according to a UK market study. Although intimidating at first, the process of brewing is quite simple and can be divided into three main steps: mashing the grains, boiling the mixture while adding hops, and fermentation. The creation of beer starts with water, malted grain, and heat. There you create what is known as wort. To create wort, one must convert starches present in the malted grain into saccharides, also known as sugars. To do this, a specific range of temperatures must be achieved between 140 to 158 degrees Fahrenheit, according to the book How to Brew, also referred to as the Homebrewing Bible. The grain and water mixture sits for around 60 to 75 minutes, where it is then drained from the vessel into a boiling pot using a spigot and vinyl tubing, as illustrated here. It's a converted cooler. Open the spigot, flows out. And you do this after 60 minutes. It should normally be beer. Here's the pot. Alright. Then the beer is boiled in a large pot, where hops are added at specific time intervals to impart the beer's aroma and its taste. Boiling times vary depending on the recipe, anywhere from 20 minutes all the way up to 2 hours. Just depends on what the recipe calls for. Boiling the wort does several things, and is very important. Thoroughly sanitizes the beer of bacteria, which are harmful to the yeast during fermentation, and they can lead to off flavors that can even spoil the beer. It helps the beer develop color and flavor the beer with the hops. Hops are a small cone-like flower from a climbing vine, and they have a pungent aroma that varies between types, of which there are dozens, all grown around the world. Once again, it just depends on your recipe. Here's a bag of hops that I use. Actually use these today. And they are Czech Saz hops, grown in Czechoslovakia. And they are pelletized. Some people use whole leaf hops. I don't. I just use pellets, but you can't tell the difference at all in the final product. Alright. And then the final, most important part of any beer, you have to have yeast because it needs to convert the sugars and make alcohol. Alright. I ferment in a glass fermentation vessel, also known as a carboy. It's around 6 gallons. I'm going to sit in the fridge. And the yeast comes in a vial that I order online. The specific yeast is called Abbey ale yeast, used for Belgian ales. And the beer is poured into the carboy after it is cooled, after we're done boiling. And then the yeast are what's called pitched into the beer where they begin their fermentation. According to brewing scientist Amedeo Capione, the yeast are critical to the brewing process. And he's exactly right. Yeast ferment or convert the sugars present in the wort into carbon dioxide and ethanol, sometimes alcohol. This is also why the beer is carbonated. They also create esters, which are different types of alcohols that lend their own aroma and flavor to the beer. And this also depends on the strain used. This is why even if you try and clone, say, a Guinness recipe, if you're not using Guinness yeast, it will be nowhere near the beer because it's not using the same strain. According to John Palmer, a homebrewing expert, the beer needs to sit at certain temperatures depending on if it's an ale or a lager. Ales like to ferment around 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, while lagers enjoy temperatures around 45 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. After all the work is done, the beer can then be put into bottles and enjoyed through a simple process. Brewing has been around for thousands of years. And today, anyone can learn to brew great beer at home with a little know-how and a little spare time. Brewing is a fantastic hobby because you can be as specific and scientific as you want, or you can simply follow a recipe in the kitchen for about 4 hours and just create your own beer. Either way, you have delicious results to enjoy. Thank you for your time.
Yay!